Busy day yesterday for West Ham United, who not only announced the sacking of Graham Potter, they also announced former Nottingham Forest boss Nuno Espírito Santo as his replacement. Two topics to get through today, which I'm looking forward to discussing with you. But if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. We're getting close. Well, we're crawling towards a 6,000 subscriber count, so please do subscribe and also drop a like on the video as well by clicking the thumbs up button. Both things are free, it takes 2 seconds, helps out the channel, and I appreciate it a lot. Right, in regards to Graham Potter being sacked, I've seen some people suggesting it's a bit early on in the season. He's only had 6 games. You could look at it like that. I do not. He's had 25 games. When he took over in January from Lopetegui, and I was pleased Lopetegui got sacked, and I was lukewarm with the appointment of Graham Potter. Truth be told, I thought it was a safe appointment. I thought Potter would be boring. I thought his football would be boring. But I thought, do you know what? It'll do. As long as he gets the results and he gets the points on the board and we have a boring season this season, it's not the end of the world. West Ham have got everything wrong post David Moyes. And as a result, that's where we are. Just a boring season where we finish top of the bottom half of the table or bottom of the top half, where we could finish 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th this season. That would have been fine with me. I thought he was safe and boring. He wasn't even good enough to be boring. 6 wins from 25 games since he's taken over. It's not good enough. That is relegation form. Continue like that this season, we are going down. And when he came in, I thought, okay, use the second half of the season, because last season we were in no danger of going down. We were 14th when he came in. So use it as a pre-season. Evaluate the squad, try things, get your formation, work out who you want to keep. Then in the summer, we can attack the transfer window, bring in your own players, offload those that you don't want, then have your actual pre-season. And then this season, when it gets underway, we can hit the ground running, hopefully, and go on and have that safe and boring season. And there was some improvements in some areas from Lopetegui to Potter. I thought our defence got a little bit better. There was spells in games that I liked, that I enjoyed the football. But it was 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there. And when I say 20 minutes, I don't mean 20 minutes in the first half and 20 minutes in the second half. I mean 20 minutes in the game. Bournemouth, for some reason, Bournemouth is always a game that comes to my mind where I remember enjoying the entire second half. That's it. But I was willing to give him the summer, give him pre-season, and see what he'd come up with. The only thing that never really made sense for me last season, we continued to play 3-5-2. He always played 3-5-2. And there was a few things that just didn't really add up under Potter. So Aaron Cresswell was a big part of last season, playing in that back three. And then we didn't give him a new contract. He went off in the summer, but we didn't replace him. So hang on a minute, this guy's been quite present in your team, and he's also been quite important. He was one of the better performers under Potter. Now, I don't even mean to discuss whether or not we should have retained him. I'm discussing the fact that we decided to let him go and didn't bring in a replacement. So that didn't make sense. The second thing is Somerville. In his first game, Potter's first game, we played Aston Villa and we looked all right. Somerville played well in first half and he went off injured, and then he was out until August, September time. He was out for 7 months. But whenever Somerville had been interviewed, he always said, oh, the manager wants me playing left wing. The manager wants me taking players on. He wants me to play with freedom. But the entire duration that Somerville was saying these things, we were playing 3-5-2. We didn't even have a left winger. So I always thought, well, is it because he's not available? This is why we're playing him. When he's available, we're going to switch. But then surely in the transfer window, you would bring in someone so that if Somerville got injured again, you wouldn't have to switch back to 3-5-2. That you could continue playing the way you were with Somerville. And lo and behold, Somerville come back, went away to Nottingham Forest, and finally he switched to a back four. We won 3-0. Somerville come off the bench and was important. He was out for 7 months, and there was nothing to suggest that we are going to keep playing like this. It was almost like we had a 7-month period that, oh, well, I know Somerville can't do what I want to do, so I'm going to do this instead. And it wasn't very good. Bourne was striker, statistically, goals and assists, it looked good. Performance-wise, it wasn't. He'd taken our best player, who I strongly believe he's one of the best players in the Premier League. I strongly believe Jared Bowen is that good. He's not world class before someone assumes I'm suggesting world class, right? He's not world class. But I think he's absolutely fantastic. And I thought he was looking stifled by Graham Potter. And I always think as a manager, you have to get the best out of your best players. And if you do that, especially in the Premier League, teams down the bottom of the Premier League, us, but they have players worth 30, 40, 50 million. That's the worst. Look at Wolves last season. They were poor, yet they had Cunha and Nuri. We weren't very good. We had Jared Bowen. Like, every team in the Premier League has top players. You get the best out of them, you give yourself half a chance. I don't think he was doing that. This season started, the defence was gone. Conceded 3 away to Sunderland, 5 at home to Chelsea, 3 against Tottenham, 3 against Wolves in the Cup. We were shipping goals. We've conceded 7 goals from corners. We've only played 6 games. And we've conceded 7 goals from corners. There's very little to like. Those 20, 30-minute spells have turned into 10-minute spells. Very, very little. Now, if I was watching us this season, I could see what he was trying to do. I could see bits to say, look, we're going to be all right. This is what I'm going to do. We're going to be okay. Once we settle in the season, we'll improve as the season goes on. We'll pick up results. We'll be fine. But there was no evidence of that. And his biggest Achilles heel, perhaps, was continuing to include James Ward-Prowse. He's just not been performing very good, but yet kept on playing. He was willing to drop most players. He dropped Thomas Souček, which was a big call for a West Ham manager. And Souček came back in because he kept scoring important goals. But he was willing to drop him. He was willing to drop Adam Wan-Bissaka, who's Hammer of the Year last year. He dropped Adam Wan-Bissaka this season. But he wasn't willing to drop James Ward-Prowse, who continued to underperform week in, week out. And that midfield was a huge problem for us. A massive problem. And it felt like he just ignored it or was happy with it. In the end, I think that midfield's really cost him his job overall long term. I am pleased Graham Potter has been sacked. Because here's the difference of my attitude in the last 24 hours. With Potter, I think we go down this season. I think we kept him for all 38 games. I think when that final whistle goes in May, I think we're off back to the Championship. Because this last season, the season before, we might have got away with Graham Potter. Because the 3 promoted teams were that bad, we might have been all right. Because boring and safe was more than enough to stay in the Premier League. We weren't even good enough to be boring and safe. But this season, those 3 promoted teams are not that. Burnley don't have the points, but I would suggest that their fixtures have been tough. Leeds are getting the points now. They're scoring goals. Sunderland are 4th in the Premier League table, I think. Liverpool, Palace, someone's gone in there. Spurs, maybe. And then, yeah, they're in the top 4. Incredible start by Sunderland. The 3 promoted teams are not going down this season. So there's at least one Premier League team that was here last year that's going down. So what was enough to stay up last season is no longer enough to stay up this season. I think we were going down with Graham Potter. He's gone. Happy with that. Delighted. Nuno Espírito Santo's come in. Now, whilst he wouldn't be the top of my list, the West Ham board do things differently to other boards in the Premier League, and they think it's the right thing to do. When they copy other clubs, they'll point at it and say, well, they do it, that's why we do it. But yet, when it comes to recruiting a manager, they do their own thing. Anyway, he has to be free and he has to be out of work. They won't pay compensation to get someone out of a contract as a manager. They just won't do it. We don't know. If you're a West Ham fan going, why? You know the answer. Well, you know they do that. If you're not a West Ham fan watching this going, why do they do that? We don't know. No one agrees with it, but they just do. Is it because they're cheap? Well, you could argue that, but I would argue it's not cheap because they have to sack managers. So it's actually quite expensive to keep hiring from the free agent pool of managers. But with that restriction and needs to have Premier League experience restriction, I think Nuno was the best of the managers linked to us. We were also linked to Gary O'Neill, Sean Dyche, Slaven Bilic, and out of those, Nuno Espírito Santo is the one I wanted. I'm worried that it's not going to be a long-term appointment. He's got a 3-year contract. I'll be surprised if he's here at the end of that contract. I think this season and next season, then I think it'll turn sour because of A, Nuno, he's got form for this. And B, our board. Not many managers succeed under our board, and the one that did, David Moyes, didn't do it because of the board. It's not like the board changed and we're a fabulous board for David Moyes to succeed. Everything clicked into place under David Moyes. And we were in a good position, hence why I said we've got everything wrong. And since David Moyes left, Moyes left us in a good position, and we've ruined that. That foundation that was there, we broke it up. We're a different club as to where we were in the summer of 2024. So Nuno's coming in, and I'm quite hopeful that we will now not get relegated. I'm quite confident he'll make us more organised, harder working. The football's not going to be enjoyable. I think we are going to have the same, we as a fan base, I think we're going to end up having a similar complaints as to what we had under David Moyes. We've gone full circle here, and this is the frustrating thing, because in between, we've spent a lot of money. We spent a lot of money under Lopetegui to try and bring in players to play a different brand of football. Then we brought in Graham Potter, and we've spent some money, not a lot, but we spent some money. Now we brought in Nuno Espírito Santo, who perhaps could have used the squad that David Moyes had left, but we've broken that down and brought in completely different players, and now we've given it to a manager who might have succeeded post David Moyes. Welcome to the world of West Ham. But I do feel like I've had a little bit of a comfort cuddle from the club by having Nuno Espírito Santo. I'm now looking forward to the game against Everton on Monday night. I was dreading it previously, but now I'm thinking, you know what, maybe we can go there, maybe we can be tough to beat, and a point would be a good point away to Everton. Then we've got Arsenal, then we've got the international break, and after the international break, we've got some all games are. We've got some crucial fixtures coming up post-international break. We're starting with Brentford at home. That's a must-win. That is an absolute must-win. But here's the thing. Under Graham Potter, I wasn't confident we'd win that game. Not confident at all. Under Nuno, I'm not going to lie, there's a bit of me that thinks, you know what, I think we'll be all right in that match. Even though they've had a very impressive result against Brentford yesterday, I still think we'll be all right under Nuno. And that's where we are now as a football club. We've had this belief as a fan base that David Sullivan's ambition every single season was to just not get relegated, just stay in the Premier League and we're all right. Secure my investment. Because one day someone's going to come buy it off me and I'm going to make a load of money. But to do that, I just need to be 17th in the Premier League. And as long as we're 17th or above, things are good. And I think Graham Potter has put that investment at risk. And as long as Nuno can get us 17th or higher, David Sullivan will be happy. And here's the thing. This week, I think I've had evidence that the other shareholders are just the same. I think David Moyes maybe gave us an opportunity to be ambitious. And I think they kind of wanted to, and that's why we got rid of David Moyes, because they wanted to go get another manager could hopefully build on what David Moyes had done. And they just got it so wrong. Do you know why? Because they hired a manager to take us 17th in the Premier League. Lopetegui was a man to just keep us 17th. Graham Potter was a man just to keep us 17th. Nuno Espírito Santo, while I'm happy we've signed him, he's a man to just get us to 17th. That's it. We're not bringing in managers to try and get us into the top 8 of the Premier League. We're not doing that. We just want to stay in the Premier League. And this week, the shareholders that have been silent and stayed out of the running of this club, in Trip Smith and Daniel Kaczynski, we don't hear or see much from them at all. Or we don't even get anything about them. We hear nothing about them. But suddenly this week they've sprung into action. Why? Because the threat of relegation is real. And this week has shown me that those two just want to be 17th in the league. And as long as West Ham's a Premier League club, they're happy. 17th, 14th, 13th, 10th, 7th. I don't think they're that bothered. I don't think they're bothered whatsoever. As long as they don't get relegated and their investment is secure, they're happy. And that's quite sad, really, that you believe that that's what those running your football club wants. And this is where I'm going to come across a little bit arrogant, and forgive me, but it's what I believe. I think for some clubs, that is maybe enough to stay in the Premier League, because that is a success. That's a success for that club. Because I'm not going to start naming names, but for the size of the club, for the turnover of that club, but actually just being in the Premier League is a success. Getting out of that Championship is a success. So finishing 17th is enough. But for West Ham United, ignoring personnel and just looking at it through the size of the football club, the money involved, the fan base, I don't think that should not be sufficient. We should have greater ambitions, but we don't have a board that share those ambitions. We've got a board that just wants to finish 17th. And our last 3 managerial appointments, I would argue going back before that, because when we brought in Moyes to replace Pellegrini, they didn't bring him in thinking this guy's going to get us European. They brought him in thinking this guy's going to get us 17th in the Premier League. Every managerial appointment under this board is brought in just to keep us in the Premier League. That's it. No greater ambition. And I think what I've seen in the last week from West Ham United is that it's not just David Sullivan that wants to just finish 17th. It's every single shareholder at that football club just want to finish 17th. And that's quite sad. Hopefully, Nuno Espírito Santo is the man to keep our club in the Premier League. I'm more confident in him than I was in Graham Potter, that's for sure. I feel relieved that Potter's gone. And I feel even more relieved that we've hired Nuno, because we could have got this appointment a lot worse. Those other names I mentioned, if we hired them, I'd have been sat here saying, I think we're going to go down. And I know people say, hang on, it's 6 games. You've not even played your 7th game of the season yet. Maybe it would be a bit like OTT. I'm emotionally invested. I'm a West Ham fan. It's what we do, right? You don't mean to do it. Everyone does it. I see it from other fans. I see fans of other clubs where I look at the club, I think they might be all right, and I see their fans going, oh my God, this is terrible. And I'm thinking, really? Is it? It looks all right from a neutral perspective. But I'm not emotionally invested. I'm not emotionally attached. I don't know everything going on at that football club. I do my best, but it's impossible. I'll never understand Aston Villa like Villa fans. I will never understand Sunderland like Sunderland fans. I will do my best to know exactly what's going on at that football club, but I'll never ever get it, because I don't have that emotion. So I understand if there's neutrals looking at West Ham going, what's the problem? You'll be all right. I speak to an opposition fan every single week, and when I've said relegation, even with Potter, they've gone, no. I spoke to an Everton fan this week. He said, nah, you'll be all right. And he gave his reasons as to why. But as a West Ham fan, it's difficult to subscribe to that idea, because we have emotion. And you cannot compensate for that as a neutral. You cannot fake emotion. But all right, okay, I'm going to think like a West Ham fan. It's impossible. You're only emotionally attached to one club. Anyway, Potter's gone. Good news. Nuno Espírito Santo is in. That's good news. However, the other problems at West Ham United, that some of them that Potter incurred, will still be here under Nuno Espírito Santo. However, just because the board are not good enough doesn't mean that Potter was. Potter was a problem at West Ham United. Nuno is hopefully a band-aid plaster over that problem at West Ham. It's a short-term fix, but hopefully it's that. A fix. Thank you very much for joining me. If you've already subscribed, a massive thank you. If you haven't, please do consider it. Also do drop a like on the video as well by clicking thumbs up, and I'll catch up with you in a bit.